Today, we're unpacking an incredible economic achievement: how Burkina Faso managed to pay off approximately $4.79 billion of its domestic debt. This isn't just a financial success story. It's a story of resilience, strategic leadership, and the determination to overcome challenges. Burkina Faso, a landlocked West African country, has faced immense obstacles, including political instability, security threats, and limited resources. Yet, under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the country has managed to achieve what seemed impossible: freeing itself from the crippling weight of domestic debt. In this video, we'll explore 9 key strategies that Burkina Faso employed to achieve this milestone. We'll use specific examples from the country's recent history to show how leadership, economic policies, and national unity came together to make this happen. So grab a cup of tea, sit back, and let's explore this fascinating journey. One of the first steps Burkina Faso took in addressing its debt crisis was prioritizing the repayment of domestic debt through clear fiscal policies. This approach aimed to stabilize the internal economy before addressing external financial challenges. A key example of this was an initiative led by the Burkinabe Ministry of Economy, Finance and Development, which conducted a comprehensive audit of domestic debt obligations in partnership with the National Treasury Department. The audit identified significant arrears owed to local creditors, including construction firms, banks, and small contractors. Many of these businesses had been waiting for years to be paid, leading to severe cash flow problems and stalling local economic activity. One specific case involved payments to construction companies working on stalled road infrastructure projects in Ouagadougou. Contractors such as the CGEA Group, which had been struggling to continue work on the Ouagabobo Highway, received overdue payments after the government prioritized clearing these debts in its 2024 budget. This allowed the companies to resume work, creating hundreds of jobs and reinvigorating related sectors like transportation and trade. By addressing these debts, the government not only relieved liquidity pressures on local businesses, but also restored investor confidence. This fiscal prioritization demonstrated Burkina Faso's commitment to resolving domestic financial issues as a foundation for broader economic stability. To pay off a significant portion of its domestic debt, Burkina Faso focused on increasing its revenue through targeted reforms in its tax system and a crackdown on corruption. This was spearheaded by the General Directorate of Taxes, which launched a series of reforms in collaboration with the Ministry of Economy, Finance and Development. One key initiative was the 2023 nationwide tax compliance campaign, which targeted traditionally under-taxed sectors such as informal markets and large-scale agriculture. The campaign included public education on tax obligations and stricter enforcement measures. To modernize the system, the government introduced a digital tax payment platform, developed in partnership with the Burkinabe Revenue Authority. This platform significantly reduced opportunities for fraud and improved the efficiency of tax collection. A standout example of the impact of these reforms was in the mining sector. Gold, Burkina Faso's most critical export, had been under-contributing to government revenues due to weak enforcement of tax regulations. In 2023, the government reviewed and tightened mining contracts and conducted audits in collaboration with the Burkina Mining Regulatory Authority. This led to the recovery of millions of dollars in unpaid taxes from mining companies, including major players such as IAMGOLD and Endeavour Mining. These reforms generated a significant increase in government revenue, which was used to pay domestic creditors, relieving financial pressure on local businesses and contractors. Additionally, the increased revenue allowed the government to allocate more funds to essential sectors like education and healthcare, further stabilizing the economy and improving public services. This comprehensive approach demonstrated how effective tax reforms and resource management can directly contribute to addressing domestic debt challenges. A pivotal moment in Burkina Faso's economic journey was the decision to take greater control over its natural resources, particularly in the gold mining sector. In August 2024, under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the government nationalized two major gold mines, Bongo and Wagnion, which had previously been managed by foreign companies, including Endeavour Mining and IAM Gold. This bold action was executed in partnership with the Ministry of Mines and Quarries and the Burkina Mining Regulatory Authority, BUMRA. By nationalizing these mines, the government retained a significantly larger share of the profits from gold production. Within just a few months, revenue from these mines surged, allowing the government to channel funds directly into paying off domestic debts. This move not only reduced financial dependence on external creditors, but also strengthened Burkina Faso's control over its natural wealth. To ensure transparency and prevent corruption, the government established the National Committee for Resource Management, which was tasked with overseeing the operations of the nationalized mines. The committee implemented strict financial auditing and reporting measures to ensure that revenues were reinvested into the country's economy. The impact of this strategy was particularly evident in rural communities near the Bangu mine in the eastern region. A portion of the profits was allocated to local development projects such as the construction of schools, health clinics, and clean water systems. For instance, the Health Center of Excellence in Fada Nigurma, funded through mining revenues, significantly improved access to health care for thousands of residents. Additionally, these projects created hundreds of jobs in construction, administration, and healthcare services, further stimulating the local economy. This decision to reclaim control of natural resources showcased Burkina Faso's commitment to leveraging its wealth for the benefit of its people. It not only provided immediate financial relief by reducing domestic debt, but also laid the foundation for long-term economic growth and social development. Another critical strategy Burkina Faso employed to manage its finances was the issuance of treasury bonds and government securities. Between 2018 and 2023, the government, through the Ministry of Economy, Finance and Development, and in partnership with the Central Bank of West African States, issued treasury bills and bonds worth approximately 5,092 million Central African francs. These instruments were designed to attract both local and regional investors. One specific example was the issuance of a series of 5-year bonds in 2023 on the West African Economic and Monetary Union regional market. These bonds raised over $500 million, which was used to refinance short-term debts and repay domestic creditors, including contractors and businesses struggling with delayed payments. The success of this bond issuance demonstrated investor confidence in Burkina Faso's fiscal discipline, even during challenging economic and security conditions. The funds raised through these bonds provided critical liquidity, allowing the government to clear domestic arrears that had previously hampered economic activity. For example, payments were made to local construction companies involved in public works projects, such as the Ouagadougou-Bobo-Dioulasso Highway, enabling stalled projects to resume. This created jobs and stimulated the broader economy, further reinforcing confidence in the government's financial management. Moreover, by successfully meeting its bond obligations and maintaining a disciplined repayment schedule, Burkina Faso demonstrated its commitment to fiscal responsibility. This reassured both local and international investors, leading to increased demand for subsequent bond issuances on the West African Economic and Monetary Union market. This strategic use of treasury bonds and government securities not only helped the government manage its debt, but also signaled to the financial community that Burkina Faso was a reliable and stable investment destination. It was a crucial step in restoring economic stability and building investor trust in the country's financial future. Paying off domestic debt created a powerful ripple effect on Burkina Faso's economy, restoring trust among local businesses and investors. Many businesses had been struggling to stay afloat due to delayed government payments, which left them unable to pay employees, honor supplier contracts, or expand their operations. This financial stagnation severely impacted key sectors, especially agriculture and public services. A specific example of this impact can be seen in the agriculture sector, which is a cornerstone of Burkina Faso's economy. The government had delayed payments to suppliers of fertilizers and farming equipment under its National Agricultural Subsidy Program. This delay caused widespread disruption, as farmers were unable to access the resources they needed during critical planting seasons, leading to reduced crop yields and financial strain across rural communities. When the government began repaying its debts, including overdue payments to agricultural suppliers such as Esso Profa, Burkinabe Fertilizer Supply Company, the sector quickly rebounded. Fertilizer deliveries resumed, and equipment suppliers were able to fulfill pending orders, allowing farmers to return to full production. As a result, crop yields improved significantly in 2024, particularly for staple crops like maize and millet. The increased agricultural activity also created jobs in rural areas, from transportation to processing, injecting much-needed income into local economies. The repayment of agricultural debts also had a multiplier effect. With suppliers and farmers back in operation, the government successfully relaunched its rural development programs, such as the Integrated Water and Agriculture Development Initiative, which further boosted production and rural incomes. This renewed trust in government payments encouraged private agribusiness companies to participate in public-private partnerships, including projects to develop irrigation systems and enhance value chains for export crops like cashews. By addressing overdue payments in agriculture, the government not only revitalized one of its most critical sectors, but also demonstrated its commitment to financial stability, encouraging greater participation from both local and international stakeholders. This example highlights how the strategic repayment of domestic debt can catalyze economic recovery and long-term growth in vital industries. While Burkina Faso concentrated on repaying its domestic debt, it also leveraged financial support from multilateral institutions like the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. These organizations provided loans with favorable terms, which allowed the government to finance essential development projects while maintaining its focus on domestic debt repayment. A specific example of this support came in 2023, when the African Development Bank approved a $50 million loan to fund the National Solar Energy Expansion Project. This project aimed to enhance rural electrification by building solar mini-grids in underserved areas. By channeling this external funding into renewable energy development, the government was able to free up domestic resources for paying overdue debts to local contractors and businesses. The solar energy project not only addressed the long-standing electricity shortages in rural communities, but also created new economic opportunities. For example, The installation of solar grids in Kudugu allowed small businesses and farmers to access affordable electricity for the first time. This enabled farmers to power irrigation systems and processing equipment, boosting agricultural productivity and household incomes in the region. The use of loans for targeted development projects like these also helped Burkina Faso achieve long-term economic goals while alleviating financial strain. For instance, the solar expansion project reduced the country's reliance on expensive imported fuel for power generation, saving millions of dollars annually. These savings were redirected toward domestic debt servicing, further stabilizing the national economy. This balanced strategy, using multilateral funding for development projects while focusing domestic revenues on debt repayment, proved to be an effective way for Burkina Faso to address both immediate financial obligations and long-term infrastructure needs. It demonstrated how partnerships with institutions like the African Development Bank and World Bank could play a critical role in supporting a country's path toward financial sustainability and economic growth. To ensure effective use of resources, Burkina Faso implemented a disciplined approach to public spending. The government prioritized cutting unnecessary expenditures and redirecting funds toward critical areas such as debt servicing, healthcare, and education. This approach showcased the government's commitment to fiscal responsibility while addressing the pressing needs of its citizens. A notable example of this discipline was the 2024 National Public Spending Reform, initiated by the Ministry of Economy, Finance, and Development. As part of this reform, the government reduced salaries, bonuses, and non-essential benefits for high-ranking officials, including ministers, governors, and top bureaucrats. For instance, a 15% salary reduction was applied to senior officials, and funds previously allocated for luxury vehicle purchases and travel allowances were significantly trimmed. The savings from these measures were redirected to pay overdue salaries for essential workers, such as teachers and healthcare professionals. In one instance, teachers under the National Education Service, who had not received salaries for over 3 months, finally received their payments, enabling schools in rural areas like those in Kaya and Tenkodogo to reopen fully. Similarly, healthcare workers in major hospitals such as Yalgado Uwedraogo Teaching Hospital in Ouagadougou were able to return to work, ensuring uninterrupted medical services for thousands of patients. This disciplined spending strategy not only improved the government's financial position, but also rebuilt public trust. Citizens saw their taxes and national resources being used to address urgent needs rather than wasted on unnecessary luxuries for the elite. The move was widely welcomed by civil society organizations like RENLAC, National Anti-Corruption Network, which praised the government's transparency and accountability in public financial management. By prioritizing essential services and cutting non-essential expenditures, Burkina Faso demonstrated how disciplined public spending can improve fiscal stability and directly benefit the population. This approach further reinforced the government's credibility and commitment to serving its people during a challenging economic period. Burkina Faso also focused on investing in sectors with the potential to generate immediate economic growth, particularly agriculture and renewable energy. These investments aim to stimulate local economies, create jobs, and boost government revenues, which could then be used to pay off domestic debt and improve public services. A standout example of this strategy is the Bagre Growth Pole project, managed by the Bagre Growth Pole Authority. The government provided subsidies to rice farmers in the region and invested in large-scale irrigation infrastructure along the Bagre Dam. These investments included modern irrigation systems and farming equipment, enabling farmers to cultivate larger areas and increase crop yields significantly. By 2024, rice production in the area had doubled compared to previous years, creating surplus yields for export and improving food security. This initiative didn't just benefit farmers directly. The increased agricultural output boosted related industries, such as transportation and milling, while creating thousands of jobs for rural workers. Farmers, such as those in the cooperative of rice producers of Bagre, reported higher incomes, allowing them to improve their living conditions and reinvest in their farms. The additional revenue generated from rice exports also contributed to the national economy, strengthening the government's fiscal position. Similarly, Burkina Faso invested heavily in renewable energy to reduce its reliance on costly imported fossil fuels. A key example is the Zagtuli solar power plant, one of the largest in West Africa, which was expanded in partnership with the African Development Bank and the European Union. By 2024, the plant had significantly increased its capacity, providing clean and affordable energy to thousands of households and businesses. This shift to renewable energy saved the government millions of dollars in fuel import costs annually, freeing up funds for critical expenses like debt repayment and public services. These targeted investments in agriculture and renewable energy demonstrate Burkina Faso's strategic approach to fostering immediate economic growth while building the foundation for long-term sustainability. By prioritizing sectors with quick, tangible results, the government not only stimulated economic activity, but also ensured that these gains directly supported national development and debt management goals. Finally, Burkina Faso's government actively engaged its citizens in the debt repayment process, fostering a sense of shared responsibility and national unity. Through public awareness campaigns and community-based initiatives, the government encouraged people to support local industries, comply with tax policies, and contribute to the country's financial recovery. One standout example of grassroots participation was the Community Infrastructure Development Program implemented by the Ministry of Territorial Administration and Decentralization in partnership with local governments. Under this program, rural communities were given funding to carry out small-scale development projects such as building schools, health clinics, and markets. For instance, in the village of Dedougou, residents worked together to construct a new primary school using government-provided resources and local labor. This approach not only reduced project costs, but also fostered a sense of ownership and pride among community members. To further involve citizens, the government launched a public awareness campaign in 2023, led by the General Directorate of Taxes and supported by civil society organizations like RENLAC, National Anti-Corruption Network. The campaign focused on educating people about the importance of tax compliance for national development. Through workshops, radio broadcasts, and social media, citizens were shown how paying taxes directly contributed to repaying domestic debt and funding essential services. This transparency helped build trust and motivated greater participation in the formal economy. The government also introduced incentives for supporting local industries, such as tax breaks for small businesses and cooperatives. For example, farmers in Zignare were given tax exemptions for selling their produce in local markets, which not only encouraged economic activity, but also increased tax revenues in the long run. This collaboration between the government and the people was crucial in creating a unified national effort to reduce domestic debt and build a stronger economy. By involving citizens in both the financial recovery process and local development projects, Burkina Faso fostered a sense of collective progress, showing how grassroots participation can be a key driver of economic resilience and stability. In summary, Burkina Faso's ability to pay off $4.79 billion in domestic debt is a testament to the power of strategic leadership and national unity. By prioritizing fiscal discipline, mobilizing revenue, and taking control of its natural resources, the country has set an example for others facing similar challenges. While there is still work to be done, particularly in managing external debt and addressing security issues, Burkina Faso's achievements offer valuable lessons in resilience and economic management. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories from around the world. Let us know in the comments, what do you think other countries can learn from Burkina Faso's journey?